Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning.
So I heard you used to throw pebbles at your neighbor's window to get to the rink by 5:30 a.m.
I did. I was a very persistent and precocious 8-year-old. And my neighbor was a teenager who wanted to get to the rink at the same time I did. But sometimes she wouldn't be awake when it was time to leave. And so I just started throwing rocks at her window until she woke up and took me to the rink because, there were no cell phones back then. And my parents weren't awake yet. So I just kept on throwing those rocks until my ride to the rink got us out the door.
Fantastic. I can't wait to unpack all that. The following is a conversation with Leslie Lane, founder of Studio 13 and a former US national level figure skater turned creative entrepreneur. This is Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Sid Ben Salah. Today, we explore the discipline behind performance, the pressure to pivot, and the genuine impact of building something with purpose. To support our show, please check the episode description. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Sid. I've been really looking forward to this.
So let's start from here. Take us back to your early days on the ice. What got you hooked?
Well, I was from Georgia originally, which is, for those that are not in the United States, it's a southeastern an area of the country, very hot. And my mother ended up marrying a man from Indiana. And so my first Christmas, he bought me ice skates because he was a hockey player in his youth. And he started taking me to the outdoor rinks in the winter. And it was an immediate hit for me. I just absolutely fell in love with the sport. Something about the wind in my hair and just the freedom that the rink offered me, the mental fortitude. I was immediately hooked.
Can you share what drove you to wake up before dawn to train as a kid every day?
I think it was the independent nature of the sport. So, unlike many team sports, it's really up to the skater. Most skaters start at an individual level. They're not doing pairs, they're not doing dance. And you really only have yourself to count on. If you want to succeed, if you want to, persevere through it, then it's up to you to make every bit of your practice count. And so I think it was that nature. It was that my parents would drop me off at the rink for hours at a time and they would leave. And there I was, sometimes in the summers, I was there 8, 10 hours a day. And in the winters, no less than three hours. And I was on my own. Of course, you've got to count on your parents to get you there and count on your coaches to coach you. But I loved the independent nature of it. I am a very independent person, and I always have been. So I do think that it was that level of I had to rely on myself.
Which lessons from your early coaches still shape how you work today?
Well, my longest living coach that she taught me the most. She was every bit a mother, a coach, a sister, a friend, and she just laid it all out on the line. She was a no nonsense kind of person. And she was just very much, if you don't succeed, so if you go to a competition and you don't get what you want, or if you're going through a test and you don't pass it, she would not allow you to cry at the rink.
Mm.
There was no crying at the rink. There was, it was no nonsense. If you were having a hard time dealing emotionally with whatever has been given to you, you had to go outside and cry behind the rink, wipe your eyes, and then come back in, because the judges were there to interact with you. So if you did not get the score you were looking for, you had to deal with that adult person, maybe that didn't even know how to skate as well as you did,
Mhm.
but they had to give you the feedback and you had to sit there and take it. And I think that that's just a really great lesson for life. When you're dealing with, whether it's customer service, you're running your own business, you've got a disgruntled boss, a disgruntled employee, whatever it is, you have to keep your emotions in check and deal with it in a very logical fashion. And so that was definitely one of my very first lessons that my coach taught me.
Yeah, yeah. What did skating give you, Leslie, that you think no other activity could have?
The ability to deal with failure. So most people look at Olympians and they wonder, how do they get there? Well, in ice skating, there are a level of tests that get you to the next point in your life. So those Olympians have tested out of everything in their discipline. They've done it all, and then they've had to compete at a local, regional, sectional, and national championship in order to be the top first or second skaters to get to the Olympic or world level. So for me, my biggest failure in the sport was my second figure test. I had that was back when they you had to actually do figure eights on the ice, and it took me 7 tries to get past that test. And every time you take a test, you have to wait 30 days before you can try it again. So you go back into the rink after you failed. Your friends know that you failed. And then you go back and you do it all over again. So by the time I get to my seventh try, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm embarrassed. And my mom won't let me quit because you're not allowed to quit on a failure. And so that ability to continue to persevere in the midst of failure, it has certainly been a tapestry of my life. And I don't think that I'd be where I am today if it wasn't for that failed figure skating test 7 times. I really don't.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And shout out to your mom.
Yes.
And how did that shape how you handle obstacles in business today?
Well, I came into photography at a time that it was transitioning from film to digital. So I don't capture weddings. I don't do babies. I don't do what I call business to consumer. I only do business to business.
Mhm.
So when I came into the field, I knew that we were going to transition to digital. And that was because we were already scanning and digitizing film at the time in order to use it in different medias. And so that transition was a $209,000 investment. And by the time I paid that camera off, it was obsolete. And then all the cameras were getting smaller at the same time that the recession, the Great Recession of '08, '09, some
Mhm.
people differ. I thought it was a 3-year recession. And my business failed. I mean, like during that recession, it 100% failed. My marriage failed
Wow.
all at the same time. And it was, again, that strong willed mother of mine who would not let me quit. She said, "You cannot go get a regular job." She said, "You're the best photographer we've ever had in this family because we've got 3 generations of them." And she simply would not let me quit. And that woman bought my gear out of bankruptcy for me
Mhm.
so that I could proceed in this very difficult realm of commercial photography. And then you have 9/11, that the recession that caused. It was a V recession, so it came out pretty quickly. And then COVID. And luckily, I only failed the one time, but so many obstacles that were so much like skating that you have a choice. You can persevere, you can change your direction, or you can quit. And my stepfather always said, quitters never win and winners never quit.
Yeah, yeah. And talking about your early career in skating and the mentorship and the friendship that you had from your coach and from your mom as well, do you think kids today get enough chances to build true grit?
Boy, um, both of my neither of my children were sports people, which was hard for me because I am all sports all the way. I watch them on TV like they're, I'm still doing it, but they were both theater kids, and both of them had to deal with that rejection and failure just like I did, in that theater aspect where they were the right person for the role, but they didn't get it. So I think there are other avenues that you can learn that grit, learn to take your medicine, where my kids had to go and play a role in the chorus rather than getting a lead,
Mhm.
and they had to do so with a smile on their face. But I don't think that men if you're not in a discipline, whether it's a sport, whether it's, a musical instrument, something that gives you that discipline. No, I don't think you get the opportunity to get that grit. I think you have to be in some kind of activity that there's a chance of failure.
Mm.
And when you fail, you have to come back to succeed. And so I think that it's limited now. And some people may hear what I have to say about what my coaches and my parents did to make me a better person and think, well, that's not how we raise kids nowadays. And I'm like, I know, but at some point you have to learn because life is not going to be easy. It just isn't.
Yeah.
You're going to lose when you should win. And I just think that it's better to learn it as a young person than it is to be completely devastated as an adult. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I share that opinion, Leslie. Yeah. When you moved into coaching, how did it change your view of skating?
um,
Because you
uh,
tried.
I
You
did.
tried.
I did, and I loved the the children that I coached.
Yeah.
Like, I really loved that one-on-one with them. I appreciated the perspective of what my coach must have gone through with me,
Mhm.
because, again, she coached lots of people. I wasn't her only student, but I feel like at times I might have been her most challenging student. Um, but I really didn't like the drama of the rink. I really didn't appreciate, dealing with other coaches and dealing with parents and all of those things. And it wasn't for me. I did not have the chutzpah that my
No.
coach had to deal with, parents. And I only did it for about 3 or 4 years. I appreciated the financial aspect of it. It was very profitable. But I just didn't have the wherewithal to deal with the drama. Just think pageant moms all over the place, because everybody thought their kid was going to be the next Olympian instead of just being happy at all the other assets that ice skating brings into your psyche. And so I did not do it very long.
And on that coaching, what did you discover about leadership through coaching others?
That there's a lot more to leadership than just being an expert. And I think that, people forget that I am so grateful for where I'm at right now in photography because I feel like I can lead through lessons that I've learned. So my coach did that with me. So she was a mentor even after I quit skating, after I quit coaching. She mentored me as a young mother. So when I was having children, her children were grown, and she still came alongside me to help me in that aspect of my life. And that impact it shapes me so that I can now do that with other people. My niece just spent a month here with me, kind of doing a quick internship
Mhm.
where I taught her about not only my business, but about networking and going out with people. So I feel like leadership and mentorship can go hand in hand and should really go hand in hand. And it's not just because you're an expert in your field, it's because you have lessons you've learned that you can then teach to others and hope that they don't have to have the same mishaps that maybe I had.
And Leslie, if you could advise young coaches today, what would be your advice to them?
Make sure you're getting educated on how to leave a lasting impact beyond your sport. Um, you know, so many coaches, whatever the field is, they're so deadly focused on skating, on lacrosse, on whatever it is, that they don't get themselves fully educated and impact through mentorship, through uh, putting people together. So your team, if you're in a team sport, how to make that team truly rally around each other, building that culture. So all those things, it really, in my opinion, you have to get educated on how to build the right team and the right camaraderie, or how to make a lasting impact in an individual sport, and introduce those students, whether they're at a college level, at an Olympic level, to different aspects of life, not just sports. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You worked with several skating partners with different skill levels and personalities. How did you learn to collaborate under pressure?
That was very, very difficult. I have the utmost respect of anybody that has to work in a duo, a
Mhm.
tandem, because first of all, as an ice skater, there's only about one man for every 10,000 women
And,
that are in the sport.
yeah, and can you explain the process? How do you match I mean, different personalities, different background, and stuff like that? What's the best, or let's say, the procedure to select a duo?
Yeah, so it is, I'm sure it's different today. I can only speak to what it was
Mhm.
like but I also came from a pretty small market. So there are training camps now that are bigger than they were then. But the East Coast has big ones, Michigan, Colorado, California, Texas. Those are where there are Florida, lots of teams. And so if you're not from those areas that have large training camps, you normally will go to a national level matchmaking session, so to speak. So at the national competitions, they used to have those events where men and women would come to see if they could find a partner. And once you get there, first of all, I was very tall. I'm 5'8". And so that means I require a skating partner that's at least 6 foot, if not a little bit taller. And so that made it challenging that I was that way. And the personality aspect really was never in consideration, which you would find funny. You would never marry somebody based on their height, you know? And so you would go and you would just pray that somebody was tall enough for you
Mhm.
and that you were at somewhat of a level skating expertise, and then you would say, oh, yes, let's skate together. Let's spend 8 hours a day together, even though I don't know you at all. And so it really, those personality traits were not even taken into consideration. And so my first partner and I, we were not the greatest together. I didn't care for his personality. He was pretty arrogant.
Mhm.
But we did skate the whole year together. We did do a whole circuit together. But it just didn't work. And my mother was furious because by the time we got to the end of the skating, she sounds like she's a skater mom, but she really wasn't. She was a person that if she's investing money, she expects to see the results.
Yeah.
And so when we got to the regional level of competition and she saw how poor our performance was compared to the other teams, she yanked us out immediately. She's like, "You guys don't have a good enough coach. If this is the level you're at compared to your competition." And so she told my partner, even though neither mom or I really cared for him, "You're either getting another coach or Leslie's done." And he's like, "I don't want another coach." And so she's like, "Fine, Leslie's done," because that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So that was, very common. You come from a small market, you have nothing to compare yourself to. You get to a larger competition and you're like, oh my gosh, we weren't good enough. And so that was how that partnership ended. My second partnership actually was my coach and a judge got together and he was judging something down in the Atlanta area and he ran into a figure skater that would match my body type.
Okay.
And so we went and we tried out together. And I got extremely fortunate that not only did our body types match well for each other, our personalities matched really well for each other.
Mhm.
And so that is a friend I still have to this day. He lives very close by. We see each other as regularly as we can. And he was the one that I got to the national level with. And so, just a wonderful human being. He was actually a roller dancer before he became an ice dancer, and that's how that relationship played out.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge about balancing personal and professional relationships on the ice?
I really didn't have any personal relationships off the ice.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yes, I had, I would date. I was obviously a young lady. And so I would find time to date because that was important. But otherwise, it's interesting. I ran into a friend of mine from high school and I kind of asked her why we didn't stay in touch. And she said, "Leslie, the only thing you had in your life was boys and ice skating." And she was right. There really wasn't, if I wasn't studying or skating, the only other thing I really did was go out on dates. And so there wasn't a lot of balance. And I think if you talk to anybody that's passionate about their sport, they probably didn't have much balance either. I'm better at it as a professional than I was when I was a skater.
I keep thinking about or try to picture your mom because thanks to her, you didn't quit, and it resonates with me and with with so many friends that I know. And on that, your mom refused to let you quit on failure. How has that lesson shaped your entire career?
Well, first of all, she's still very active in my life. She's 84 years old.
Wow,
And you would not, if you talked to her on the phone, you would not know that she was 84 years old because she's still is pushing me along in my life.
bless her.
Um, having a parent, and both my parents were, my mother and my stepfather were very active in my skating life. My stepfather was military,
Mhm.
and so, he instilled a lot of grit in me for sure. Um, but having parents behind you that only want you to perform at your best, I don't know that you can really replace that. It has shaped what I do. When I took over my family business, my mom was the one standing at the light box reviewing my images and being just as hypercritical of my photography as she was of skating. And I just think that when you've got a parent, a coach, a friend, that it's not that they're being hard on you for no reason. They want to see you succeed. And they know that the only thing that is going to make you succeed is hard work. And so I never really, I mean, sure, I got mad at her because she was the one that was, not letting me do what I wanted to do. Um, but once the failure was over and once I failed forward, I could see the wisdom in her guidance. She is a hard woman, and I'd say it to her face right now today. She does not take any BS. I mean, she's hard, but I definitely, contribute a lot of what I've done in my life to that personality of you'll either perform at your best or you will not perform.
Yeah, yeah. On this show, Leslie, I spoke with many guests talking about parenting and mainly parenting and sports and career and mainly the fine balance between investing time and money and chasing as a parent, maybe not with bad intentions, but chasing for some sort of ROI, return on investment. And this can quite often break preteen or teenagers. And they pull the plug. They just pull the plug. In your case and your experience, Leslie, what would you say to parents today about balancing high standards with support?
Boy, that is tough. I wish that I could tell you that I did it well with my children
Mhm.
because I had a very hard time when they were unhappy. When my children were unhappy, and all I wanted my children to be was happy. And so I don't know that I pushed enough. Um, and my children would say differently. But my mother says that I was too soft on my children. But my mom has a completely different personality than me.
Mm.
She grew up with a very difficult mother,
Mhm.
and she learned her parenting from her mother. And I did not get that personality. So if I'm talking to parents out there, try your best to, I don't want to say put a distance between your child, but when it comes to the sport or when it comes to the craft, view that child as if they're not your child. And then when they get home and you're in your home, that's when you can be the loving, doting, caring parent.
Mhm.
Make sure you balance that. And maybe you just have a I want to say something like a China wall where at home you don't talk about the sport. At home, you're just a family who's loving things. And then if you need to talk about the sport and the discipline, separate that from the household because it is very, very difficult
Mm.
to do both. And so I do think that that pressure from parents, it's important, but not to the breaking point. And somehow they've got to come up with a way to separate it from the child rearing to the child succeeding. I'm not going to say my mom did it perfectly, but I'm relatively well adjusted as an adult, relatively. I actually had another coach that almost took me to the breaking point. It was a coach that was out of town. I spent a summer with him,
Mhm.
and he was, to this day, I still have very bad feelings about him, and to the point that he pushed me. So I think that especially during those teenage years, the kids need to know they're loved for more than just their performance.
Yeah, right, right. Taking over your parents' photography studio at 22 is impressive. How did you balance respecting their legacy with building your own path?
It was not impressive. It was a disaster. So let's just be clear about that. Um, I took over the business because there was no other option.
Okay.
My stepfather became gravely ill, and I had wanted to take over the business anyway, but eventually, not like this. And so my stepfather was in a nursing home. My mom helped me to the best of her ability.
Mhm.
By the time I was 22 years old, I was pretty headstrong. You end up in a sport that long, and you're going to have some pretty strong opinions. And so, mom and I did go head to head a lot, but the taking it over in my way didn't really happen until, probably 5 to 8 years ago was when I finally was able to let go of the legacy of this is what my parents did, and transitioned it into, well, what do I really want? Because that's the tough part of taking over a business that's so established. And, even though my grandparents and my aunts were portrait wedding photographers, everybody has an opinion about how you should run the business. And so it was a very, very difficult transition. There was a lot of lost money
Mhm.
while I was learning what I was doing, because I had never shot for a client before. I'd only done photography for the yearbook. I'd never done it for real. And so it was a very difficult, challenging, fall forward type of situation that took me many years to get through.
Yeah. You explained earlier during our intro chat some barriers or challenges in terms of transforming the business model. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. First and foremost, when I took over the business, there were very few female commercial photographers. In fact, there was only one to my knowledge. Again, that made me bristly. That made me a little bit aggressive,
Mhm.
because there was nobody like me. Even my mom was not a commercial photographer. She was a fine art photographer,
Yeah.
and she did all the sales and business operations. So there was no one to mentor me, which made it very difficult. I had people alongside me, but that was the first thing. And just being in a male dominated world, and even the ad agencies, the people that were buying my goods were male.
Mhm.
And so figuring out how to work through those challenges, and then getting where I am today, where many of my clients and buyers are female. There are several commercial photographers here in town that are female. It's just a completely different time and place. When I took over the business, my parents had 4 employees. Now I have zero salaried employees. So everybody that works with me now, they're all 1099 contract workers, so that if the business ebbs and flows with the economy, which it will, that I'm not trying to pay everybody. I can just pay myself and then pick up labor when I need it.
Mhm.
So I feel like that, because photography now, back in the days, everybody had a studio, everybody had that overhead, and they had employees and they had people to run their film, where now you can do it as a more independent nature, and you can really make sure that you get yourself paid first, which was the struggle when having payrolled employees, was that lots of times I didn't get paid.
Yeah. Leslie, looking back, what achievement makes you most proud?
Boy, that's difficult. Um, there's several things that pop into my head. Not being afraid to transition from film to digital.
Mhm.
That's the first thing. I was very young, and I was so young, I wasn't afraid. Um, in my early career, uh, Fuji Film, they Fujifilm took one of my images and hung it in a museum in I think it was Amsterdam, that they thought one of my images was worthy of display, and that was a pretty high accomplishment for me. I also had a image that was selected for the loan collection at Disney. It was displayed there at Epcot for a year, and so that was very exciting. But away from photography, I went back and got my master's at 50 years old. I got my MBA,
Wow.
and it was um, it was during some of my hardest times. It was when I was going to quit photography,
Mhm.
that I um,
And you didn't.
didn't. But my previous relationship made me feel very inadequate,
Mhm.
and um, I decided that the only way to shore that up was to go back to school and get my master's. And my current husband was very encouraging of that. He thought that was a great idea. And when I graduated with a 4.0 I was 52 years old, as a graduate, and that was probably the greatest thing that, outside of raising children, the greatest thing that I've done for myself, and the confidence that it gave me after such a rough patch of, the business failing and my mom buying my equipment and my marriage failing. It couldn't have shored me up anymore, than to give me the confidence I needed to actually pull the business into a successful pattern where I'm at now.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Leslie.
Mhm.
Really nice, really nice. You were one of the only female, just for our listeners, what you said earlier, the only female commercial photographers in your area. Did you feel you had to prove yourself more than your peers?
Yes, for multiple reasons. Yes, being female for sure, being so much younger. So, my stepfather, when he got out of the business, he was 62, and many of his competitors were, in their 50s. And here I was, 20 years old, trying to compete with his constituents. Um, and so, yeah, I feel like that. And I have had conversations with people that knew me back then, men, and I've apologized to them because I was difficult. I mean, I won't even say the word because it's not polite, but I was very difficult with other men in the field because they weren't taking me seriously. And one of the gentlemen that I've maintained my friendship with, and I see very regularly, when I apologized to him, he goes, I really wish you wouldn't. He said, you had no other choice but to be that way. He said, there was nobody else that would, you know, that looked like you, that acts like you, that was doing what you were doing. He said, I do not blame you at all, and I do not hold you responsible for it. But I do regret that I couldn't figure out a way without being kind of, difficult. But I still don't know how I could have done it any differently, because what do you do? I mean, when people won't listen to you, and by then I had proven myself that I was legit and I was doing well at what I was doing. I got pretty hard nosed.
What advice would you give women who want to lead in underrepresented fields?
Yeah, the biggest mistake I made was, I kept running my business in a vacuum. So it was just me and my assistant. And whenever you're in a organization where you're only talking to each other and you're not enlisting outside people, you're not going to lead well. So I wish that I have a group of women in commercial real estate here in Indianapolis that I started networking with about 10 years ago. And there's not another photographer in it, but these are women that are leading in their field. And I wish that I would have gotten into that group sooner, because by having women that are succeeding in their respective fields, their insight has been invaluable to me. So if you're a woman looking to lead, surround yourself by female leaders or advocates, because certainly there are men in this commercial real estate group. But don't lead in a vacuum. Don't think you've got all the answers, because you don't. And I wish that I would have gotten out and built my network at a younger age.
Yeah, yeah. You said earlier, you correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie. You had to mentor your niece, if I'm correct. And it's a topic that my wife and I, my wife, she's in the hospitality industry since 3 decades now. And one of the issue is this mentorship. And I hear you what you say, that your advice is to find another well-established, or let's say a mentor female, you know. And it's hard, it's tough, even here in Scandinavia, to find the right mentor. It's almost impossible, you know. And on that, why is mentoring the next generation in your industry is so important to you?
Well, I think because I came into this business with it was a disaster. And my stepfather was taken out. My mom was trying to take care of him and help me transition through the business. And then I just had this one assistant who was my very best friend. But it if you don't have somebody to guide you, you really don't you can't move to that next level. And it doesn't even have to be a mentor in your industry. Somebody that can speak to, okay, if you want to go and hit these milestones, how does that person do that? So I have a networking friend of mine that, he's a coach. That's part of what he does, and I don't hire him, but we meet regularly. And he came to me just last week with an idea that is game changing for me.
Hmm.
And I would not have known that had I not been meeting with him on a regular basis. He just threw an idea out there that really resonated with me. And so if I can come along, men, women, it doesn't matter to me, how they see themselves, and I can be a positive influence on their life. I can give them guidance, um, point them in a direction. So my niece isn't even in my field. My niece is in fashion.
Okay.
And so I took her to Chicago. I said, fine, you're in fashion. Let's go to Chicago and let's see some of those independent labels that are up there. And let's see if maybe you can find insights into that. She loves fabrics. And so I introduced her to textile people here in Indianapolis that she could talk to about what should she do in her field. So having a established leader in your community that can make introductions to other people, it's priceless, absolutely priceless.
Yeah, yeah. You've navigated the 9/11, the digital shift, the recession, 2008, 2009, and now AI, the artificial intelligence. How do you stay adaptable, Leslie?
Um, well, I think that I'm just lucky that I've got all those on my bingo card. So AI it is a real thing. It is a every photographer that wants to succeed better embrace it,
Hmm.
because that was the problem with digital, and that was also the problem when people went from black and white to color film,
Yeah,
is that they didn't want to make that transition,
yeah.
and those businesses died.
They,
And so AI is absolutely going to be the same way. um, I was listening to one of your other podcasts, and they were talking about how AI is at a high level now, that it's at a, broad stroke. And that is certainly the way it is here in photography.
mm,
So the main part of our business that I'm seeing transition to AI are our corporate headshots. We are not losing a lot of them because we offer more than just a headshot.
mhm.
But some of my competitors that have always kind of priced themselves in the lower price bracket, and they've gone for volume over quality, they are the ones that are being replaced by a cell phone image that can be converted into AI. So that's kind of where that is. I am using AI on a daily basis for my editing. It is
Mhm.
making me more efficient. It is allowing me to do things that I could not do before. So, in that aspect, it is extremely helpful. It is not doing great in the detail part of it. So, I asked AI to remove raindrops from a shirt. You would think that that would not be very difficult to do. It took that person out of their shirt, put them in a completely different shirt, and put a yoga mat under their armpit.
In a
So
second.
it was not ready for that yet. We're also seeing a good bit of pushback in product photography
Mm.
where retailers are refusing to show packaging that has AI generated images. So we are doing more and more product photography because of that. I got my start on product photography, but there was a long lull because Amazon has studios all over the country.
Mhm.
And so we lost a lot of that product work to the Amazon photo studios, but it is coming back. Also, retailers are having a hard time when they list their products on Amazon that Amazon is actually using their images for their competitors' products. And so by shooting the photography directly with me, they own the copyright instead of Amazon owning the copyright. So, in that aspect, we are seeing a little bit of pushback. I work a lot in the professional services,
Mhm.
accountants, doctors, dentists, financial advisors. They absolutely want to show themselves in their true, genuine light. That when somebody walks in to hand you their investments, they want you to look like you really look, not like an AI generated image. So, as far as AI, I am embracing it. I am jumping towards it. I'm learning as much as I can about it. As of yet, it is not impacting what I do.
Mhm.
I'm hopeful that as we move forward, that will remain the case. But it's to be seen exactly how far is this going to go and what is going to be the consumer pushback because that's so much of what I do is working with businesses to promote to their customers.
Mm.
And so a lot of people do not like artificially created images. They feel that they're being lied to. What is the truth in advertising? We've got laws here in this country about truth in advertising. Where does that come into effect? That if you're trying to show an image that's not really your product, it used to be that the government would, tell you to cease. So we'll just have to see exactly where this is all going to take it because it is certainly turning the world upside down.
Yeah. I believe the pushback is mainly because of the media. The past 12 or even more, 24 months, the main narrative through the media is AI is going to take your job.
Mm.
Simple, period. You know, and I believe the pushback is there. Instead of boosting the awareness in terms of AI is here and is here to stay, period. You know, just roll your sleeves, try to, how I say, learn,
Mhm.
study, learn, try. There will be errors. Don't give up, and try to fight put it this way, try to improve. And on that, Leslie, do you feel technology will ever fully replace human photographers?
Well, my opinion is that AI doesn't have a soul.
Okay.
So AI only knows what you tell it. It doesn't know anything else. And so, as if you've got a young person that is thinking about getting into photography, the number one thing is going to be does your photography reflect your soul? Because that's the kind of work that's not really going to be able to be replaced.
Right.
I preach it to my clients all the time that when somebody goes to their website or somebody goes to their um, advertising, and if they see a stock image rather than a real image, that person is not getting the message of what your brand really is. So, as an image expert, I have to go in and I have to relay the heart of that company, whether it's their culture, whether it's their brand. I have to put that into a photograph. That cannot be replaced by somebody that doesn't understand the heart and soul of an organization. So, I feel like that if you're looking to get into this field, whatever aspect it is, you have to really reflect your soul in your images because that can't be replaced.
Right. Well said. As a third generation photographer, what does carrying that legacy mean to you?
Um, Not only am I a third generation photographer, Sid, but I am a third generation female entrepreneur. So my grandmother ran that photography business. She handled all the money, handled all the employees. My grandfather did the photography.
Mhm.
And then my mom stood on her shoulders and ran our family photography business. and then I upon hers. And when you ask about my niece and me having her up here for a month, because my children are not going into my field and I'm the last of my generation, giving back to my niece was second nature to me because my parents and my grandparents did it for me. And so I feel like that the legacy that I have to leave on is through what I do for others. I have my university is here in Indianapolis that I graduated from. I'm on their alumni board. I am working directly with their business college to come alongside and mentor young students coming through there, to go to networking events with the students. So I'm not able to pass my legacy on photographically to the next generation, but I certainly can pass on my knowledge that my family has left me with to the next generation, whether that be students or family members. So
Mhm.
I feel like that it's the least I can do to make sure that the kindness, the grit, the perseverance that my family has passed on to me gets passed on to others.
Mm. Mm. What do you hope your clients and mentees remember of you?
Well, the problem with what I do, Sid, is that my photography is ever replaceable. So that's why I have so many great long and loyal clients, is because you have to keep moving forward if you're advertising or you're falling backwards. So you have to stand out. We have to take new pictures. And one day when I'm not taking pictures anymore, they will find somebody else to put their brand forward. And so knowing that my photographs will never be an Ansel Adams, there will never be a Stieglitz or someone like that. I have to make my impact through the relationships. And so I hope that my clients will remember that when they had a problem, I solved it. And when I found out that their husband has cancer, that I wrote them a letter of encouragement. That my team that I work alongside with, that they receive letters from me when life is hard or when they're celebrating an anniversary or something like that. I work very, very hard with my clients to offer them more than just pictures. If they're struggling to get all of their people scheduled for a headshot, well, I can set up a program, and we have a program that they can schedule themselves, and we can do that for you.
Mhm.
So that impact of actually making a difference in my clients' lives, both personally and professionally, I hope that's what they remember when my photography days are over.
If you could sum up your personal legacy in one sentence, what would it be?
Personal legacy in one sentence. You're good at this. Personal legacy in one sentence. Um, that people will know me more for my heart than for my camera.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk. For more conversations on sports leadership, faith, performance, and innovation from Sweden to the world, visit prezerosportstalk.com. It's time for our lightning round. Ready for
Uh-oh.
Q&A? Bit of
That's good.
fun. Yeah. Coffee, tea, or something else to kickstart
T
your morning?
T.
Tea. Favorite song that gets you pumped up?
Shout out to my ex is my vibe song.
A book you keep coming back to?
Throne of Glass
Aha.
by Sarah J. Moss.
Okay.
It's a 7-book series, so prepare yourself.
I will check it out. Good. If you could try any other profession tomorrow, what would it be?
I would love to be a executive administrator for a president of a company. I would love to run somebody else's life.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Who inspires you the most, beside of your mom?
My grandchildren. My grandchildren are my inspiration. They've actually got me to stop cussing. I'd say that's a great inspiration.
One thing you can't live without.
One thing I can't live without, um, my calendar. Like I am OCD. I have both a paper and a digital calendar, and I take them
Mhm.
everywhere. I am so OCD.
If you could have a dinner with a historical figure, who would it be and why?
Hmm. Probably Ansel Adams. Probably, I
Mhm.
know he's not like a huge celebrity, but Ansel Adams used to teach workshops, believe it or not. So this incredible master photographer, and my mother got to take his last conference he ever taught in California. And if I could sit down with him and just listen, because he did some amazing things. He would set up cameras in the same places for years upon years and like have marks on trees where he knew that he needed to position his camera. So
Mhm.
yeah, probably Ansel Adams.
Okay. The worst career advice you ever gotten?
Uh, Fake it till you make it probably is the worst advice I've ever gotten.
Oh, I agree with you.
Don't fake it. I did. Get the knowledge that you need, especially in this day and age. You can get it. It's if it's not online, you got to know somebody that knows
It,
something.
it's so funny you say that, and I fully agree with you. In MBA classes, there is two things I hate. Is this fake it until you make it, and scalability. There is not one topic, one segment of that study that talks about scale, and I keep asking myself, okay, scale for what? you know there is no end to it. Yeah. So fully agree with you. Yeah. ah do you prefer leading a team or working solo?
Probably working solo. Probably. But and I say that because I've got a team. I've got 9 people around me and they are wonderful.
Hmm.
They say that I'm a great leader. They say that I'm all the things. But what I don't like is when there's something that's not working out, and you've got to tell that person that it's not working out. And I really hate doing that. And so, if I had my choice, if I could make all the money I needed doing it by myself, I'd probably do it by myself.
Fantastic. And using AI maybe as an agent too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your guilty pleasure show or a movie?
My guilty pleasure is that I get my nails done every 3 weeks, no matter what.
Okay.
But my favorite show right now is Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short. I am loving, and Selena Gomez. I am
Mhm.
loving every minute of that. And then my daughter has gotten me into documentaries. And oh my goodness, those are train wrecks. I mean, like the Charlie Sheen documentary right now. Holy cow, that's a life. He should be dead.
Is it
Charlie
on
Sheen should be
Netflix
dead.
or
It's on
on
Netflix. Yeah.
Netflix? Yeah. Yeah. I think I've seen yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And lastly, Leslie, if you could give a piece of advice or wisdom to our listeners on any topic, what would it be?
um, Running a business, starting a business, being an entrepreneur does not go in a straight line. It is not something that you can start and be successful in one fell swoop. If somebody tells you that their success is linear and that they've never struggled or failed, they're lying to you. Be gentle with yourself when things don't go the way they planned, because it is not easy to deal with all the external factors that go with running a business. So never give up and don't be so hard on yourself when things don't go right. Just keep on putting one foot in front of the other.
Leslie Lane, thank you very much.
Thank you. It has been a joy.
And to our listeners, I leave you with this quote from the one and only coach John Wooden. Success is a peace of mind which is a direct result of self satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. Your story, Leslie, remind us that excellence isn't just about winning, it's about showing up, staying in it, and building something meaningful. Once again, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So good to see you.
We want to thank you for joining our show. If you enjoyed this episode, we have more for you. You can now watch the entire episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels. While you're here, subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell. Visit prezerosportstalk.com to explore more conversations on sports, leadership, faith, performance, and innovation. From Sweden to the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and make a difference. We'll see you soon. Take care.